let's get into talking about the new Cleric. The Cleric is one of the most versatile and formidable spellcasting classes in D&D. Frequently underrated as meek sideline healers, Clerics can hold their own next to fighters and other martial classes. A Cleric knows the best way to keep your allies on their feet is often to chop your enemies off at theirs. The 2024 Player's Handbook recognizes the raw divine power that Clerics bring to the table and offers you a smorgasbord of customizable options like Divine Strikes or potent spellcasting to build our heroes worthy of the gods they champion. So my big fear with Cleric, I think my overall fear with, I would say, most of stuff coming into Cleric now is from our previous stuff, we've seen like a big narrowing of what the class is going to be going forward, from Monk to making like, well, you can use Dex for everything instead of just Strength because we want you to use Dex as the Monk. You know, even though like it's more important to probably use Dex, or there's more optimal ways to build a character, they're really focusing you into the optimal ability. Cleric is one of the few classes in D&D because they have so many subclasses, so many things to do, that you are overall allowed like such a breadth of options that I think they're going to narrow it down for you and kind of an idea. And that, doesn't make me as happy, but it might make that narrowing with, if they start adding more subclasses, a bit better, but they're probably just going to narrow at the beginning, is what I imagine. Cleric is so, you can kind of do what the fuck ever you want to do as a Cleric. Okay, here's all the changes. We're just going to go look at them straight up. And I'm going to go open up, make sure my, my first edition, my first 2014 version is here. Okay. As you've likely noticed, the biggest change to the 2024 Cleric is that you no longer receive a subclass at level 1. This might take a little getting used to, but there's a pretty beneficial new feature in exchange. In the 2014 Cleric, some subclasses carried the feature of heavy armor training and martial weapon proficiency, but some didn't. Now when you build a 2024 Cleric, you decide for yourself if you want Protector, proficiency with martial weapons and training with heavy armor, or Thaumaturge, an extra cantrip from the Cleric spell list. You also gain bonus to your Intelligence, Arcana, or Religion checks equal to your Wisdom modifier. Huh. How do I think about this? I don't know. I kind of wish you got the proficiency if you're also a Protector. I wish that was just a low one ability. I don't like that. If you choose to be a melee-oriented class, you don't get role-playing stuff. That kind of stinks. I can see just boosting this to having two extra cantrips, or whatever. Maybe just one's good enough. Or like you gain maybe like an extra cantrip from outside the Cleric spell list, like Prestidigitation, and you can use your Wisdom modifier for it. But they should all get the bonus to checks, just because if you're gonna make it role-playing focus, it just feels like this is only gameplay. This is gameplay and role-playing. They should give you something else, or maybe like if you get Protector, you get proficiency with a land vehicle, or proficiency in these particular skills. Just having this, I think, kind of stinks. Moving this feature out of the subclass column into the base Cleric perk gives you a lot more customizability for your role in the world from the jump. This is a repeated theme with the 24 cards we hinted above and we'll get below. Yeah, I'm seeing the gameplay customability there, but I'm not seeing the other customability they're probably talking about. The customization. Channel Divinity is level 2. An upgrade from the 2014 Cleric, you gain 2 uses of Channel Divinity at level 2 and get extra usage at 6. You can also get more options on how to use it as you base Cleric. So do you just start with, do you get to 3 maximum, or do you even get more as you level up? That would be good to know, because, no offense to the Cleric, they're probably one of the hardest things to figure out what you're going to do is when you're going to channel your divinity, because it was such a finite resources. And it's only until like, I think it's like 18th level you get to 3, 6 you get to 2, so I'm hoping at 18th you get 4 would be my hope, maybe. It's still such a finite resource, it becomes really hard to use. But they're going to give you new choices here. Divine Spark. This is actually a twofer. As a magic action, you can focus divine energy towards a creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. Then you can choose to heal or harm them. You roll a d8, add your Wisdom mod, and if you're choosing to heal, they'll recover. This ability scales up as you gain levels. with 2d8 at level 7, 3d8. Well, okay. But you can also force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw and deal that number and your choice of radiant or necrotic damage if they fail to save, or half if they succeed. Okay. Cool. A little more use your Channel Divinity. I don't know if that's really that powerful. Level. This ability scales up with 2d8 at level 7. Level 7, 2d8? I mean, it's fine. This would be useful early on when you don't have much, when you don't want to use Turn Undead. But yeah, okay. Turn Undead. Turn Undead at level 2 remains mostly the same. The 2024 player handbook specifies that the undead creature who failed their save against your Channel Divinity equal to your spell save DC have the fried incapacitate condition for 1 minute. It still uses movement to get as far away as possible, but no longer uses action to dash thanks to the incapacitated condition. Cool. Okay, so Turn Undead, they walk away and you kill them. Building off of major changes from level 1, the 2024 Cleric level 2 looks different in that you aren't getting a Channel Divinity feature from your subclass yet. Don't fret, those will be coming around at level 3, and your patience is rewarded by getting a whole new use of Channel Divinity that isn't tied to your subclass. Turn Undead is certainly one of those quintessential Cleric abilities, but sometimes there aren't just any zombies around. Having a default ability that lets you heal up some allies or deal some damage to an enemy is a nice little perk and a welcome addition to Channel Divinity feature. Heck, you might even be able to get away with not preparing any healing spells and just holding onto those divine sparks when your party runs headfirst into the enemy blades. This is kind of what I feel like for Ranger too. Like, Turn Undead is worthless. No offense. It is like literally worthless until you run into a zombie. It's like an absolutely fucking garbage thing to have ready. And if you are playing some campaigns, like I know for my campaign so far, I don't think they've run into any undead. They're level 3 now. And I don't know. I think they're going to they might run into one undead in the future that I have planned so far. Like a undead creature. And like, that's it so far for my plans. And I have it built out for, like, the campaign's built out in certain directions that if we go in directions, we'll run to undead, but I don't think they're ever going to go that direction. So, it's worthless, but it's character worthless. Clerics have some divine restoration, like, something to put people to rest. They can turn undead, blah, blah, blah. They have this, like, power by gods. Like, this is, like, their thing. You can roleplay it however you want. And getting rid of the ranger, all that ranger stuff, but letting the cleric keep their turn undead just seems... I don't know. It just seems like they understand here, like, it's quintessential. But when they look at the ranger, they're like, none of that shit for the ranger is quintessential to that character. And now it feels like there is no quintessential ranger. And I don't know if the ranger's gotten bad. I don't know if it's gotten worse. I genuinely don't know. I haven't done, like, run numbers. But from feel, it doesn't feel rangerish anymore. At level 3, the 2024 Cleric gained their subclasses. This brings the Cleric with everyone else. It's important to note that while mechanically you don't get the benefits of a subclass feature to level 3, that doesn't mean you can't roleplay your Cleric's connection with your deity at prior levels. It also gives you the opportunity to play your character for a couple levels before feeling like you need to decide on a subclass. This is something I totally agree with. This is why I'm fine moving the subclasses to level 3 overall. A, it keeps them together, and B, it gives you time to, like, figure out what your character is like. So when you're given the option at level 3 to pick your subclass, you've been role-playing already, and then you can just transition into that role. Now, there are going to be those power gamers who already, like, know what they want to do, all the things through, blah, blah, blah. But if your character's been like, I want to make my character kind of sneaky, let's just go look at the monk for an example before I spoil myself. Let's say if you're the monk, and you're like, I'm a sneaky person, and then as you're playing, you're like, I think I'm more of like a beat 'em up, and I've been kind of messing with, like, hitting braziers at my enemy, and I've been, like, trying to, like, I even, like, asked my dude if I could pick up a coal and throw it at them. I'm gonna do Warrior of the Elements, actually, and you get that time to, like, have your character develop that way. Or certainly the other way around, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna be a Warrior of the Elements, I'm, like, hitting, doing all this stuff, and you realize you're sneaking around a lot more, you're working with the rogue. Well, actually, maybe Warrior of Shadows would be better for me, and, like, having that naturally come out and play will feel better for your characters every time. It gives you the opportunity to play your character, blah, blah, blah. This can be helpful if you follow daily straddles, different domains. A Cleric of Saloon, for example, could easily be Light or Trickster. The 2024 Player's Handbook presents 4 familiar domains for Cleric, and with one exception, the features are nearly identical to their 2014 Cleric versions. Each of these subclasses also had some adjustments to their always prepared domain spells, including new spells for each. Okay, great. So a lot of the domains were pretty decent. Especially the ones they're showing here are actually all good. Trickery was probably the one that was, like, had some troubles getting through. Actually, Trickery was pretty good. I think War Domain was probably your worst one if I had to remember. It's kind of stinks to see what's it called? All like so many subclasses are gone, right? For me to think about it, like when I think about cleric, I think tons of subclasses. I guess is like my idea because like you're picking so much to work with. You know, you have your war, trickery, nature. I think Tempest was in the original, right? Yeah, your Tempest domain, nature. You had light, you have life, and I think that was it in the knowledge. I think knowledge existed too. Yeah, I see knowledge. And that was a lot to pick from because clerics are communing with gods, and gods have a ton of shit to go through. So being like, here's all my stuff is pretty good. And like life was good. I know light was like my favorite because I thought light was, I'll just be honest, I thought it was broken. I thought you could do too much with light. I'm glad they didn't bring peace domain back because that shit was too good. But like I remember being like trickery was fine. I just remember I think war was the only one that I was like mostly. Not that I was. That's one I liked. I wanted to use when I first played the games. I thought it'd be cool to be like a cleric of a god of war. It just wasn't that great. So I'm happy to see like people. You know, there's a good list here, but it's sad that your all the things your god can do cannot be represented yet. Which was kind of the point of the player's handbook was, even though not everyone gets 4 subclasses, there's all these representations. God, I can be the nature cleric. But now if you're doing nature, you should go do a druid thing. But instead you had this versatility of picking. But all this is to be said, it's fine. It's whatever. Like, I don't think it's that big of a. I think I'm making it sound like a bigger deal, but this would be like, if it's so easy to bat compatible things into it, it shouldn't be that big of a deal if the other domains are good, and then you can just bat compatible into it, kind of is the idea. Or you can get your DM to kind of work your way through it. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. All right, let's go look at life domain first, though. Life domain is the cleric domain that everyone picks first. It is okay. It's fine. It's the Healy cleric. Disciple of life and preserve life have moved to level 3. Fair enough. And those are your, like, you started those at level 1 and 2 because you picked your subclass at level 1. Now they're moved to 3 because you picked your subclass at 3. And Blessed Strike has become a base cleric ability. And Blessed Strike has become a base cleric ability. Blessed Strike. Where is Blessed Strike? Am I just going crazy and thinking about what Blessed Strike is? I guess your Divine Spark. Alright, whatever. I have Divine Strike. I'm trying to think about what Blessed Strike is. Let me go look it up real quick to make sure I'm not going crazy. 5e Blessed Strike. Oh, that's your Thoughts of Blessed Strike for clerics from Tasha. That's a Tasha. Let's go look at Tasha. Tasha, I'm just less familiar with. Around when Tasha came, I had become more proficient at my DMing and had just been like, if someone wants to do something, we can do that. Okay, Blessed Strike, 8th level cleric feature. Okay. You're above the Divine Might in battle. When a creature takes damage from one of your cantrips or weapon attacks, you can deal 1d8 radiant damage to that creature. Once you deals damage, you can't use this feature until the start of your next turn. Okay, you just get that at level 8 or whatever. Don't know why that's right here. Would that just be... Oh. Alright, I don't know why they didn't bring that up there. Okay, I don't know why it's up here. It threw me off. Okay. But your domain spells of Bless, Cure Wounds, and Laceration have been joined by Aid. That's good. Aid's a great little spell to have, which replaces Spiritual Weapon as a life domain spell. I think that's fine. I think getting rid of Spiritual Weapon and slapping Aid in there as your 3rd level, or as like your 3rd level cleric life domain spell. So I guess you'll get like a ton of access to a ton of spells right when you get up there because you first got them at 1st level, so you're going to get Bless, Cure Wounds, Lesser, and Aid instead of just getting Bless, Wounds, Cure. Okay, makes sense. Disciple of Life is now restricted to only the turn that you can cast spell, and you can now use Preserve Life on undead and constructs. They're really trying to make sure you don't fucking kill your Gear Force, and maybe like some Vampire style subclass will live on. They're really trying to make sure that happens. Disciple Life is now restricted to only the turn. So let's look at Disciple Life before. Also starting at 1st level, your healing spells are more effective. Whenever you use a healing spell of 1st level or higher to restore hit points to a creature, that creature regains additional hit points equal to 2 plus the spell levels. And they're saying, oh, okay, only on the turn you cast a spell. So like when you cast it that turn, so only on your turn, does that work. Which is fair if they're boosting every spell across the board of healing, like they're trying to do to make it actually better, healing like a proactive thing you should be thinking about doing by having access to it, that they're going to nerf some healing stuff. But everything else staying about the same is fine. And then preserve life just being like, that's your channel divinity. It's like 5 times your cleric level heal. Channel divinity. Pretty good. It now can be used on undead and constructs. That means it can hurt undead and it can also heal constructs. They're really trying to get around this constructs problem, which is fair. I like that constructs can't be healed and shit, but that is very much a me thing. Light Domain. These holy light bulbs, warding flare, and radiance abilities are available at level 3. That's right, we're going to be moving straight into this. Light Domain Cleric, if you've never played it, is fucking awesome. So if they're bringing it back and it's mostly the same, it'll probably be actually just really good. See Invisibility replaces Flaming Sphere as a Light Domain spell. Okay, so you get Burning Hands, Fairy Fire, See Invisibility, Scorching Ray. That's fine, I think. I think Flaming Sphere hopefully maybe gets a little bit of a rework then. Warding Flare works on other creatures from the start instead of just yourself, as in the 2014 version. Great. So Warding Flare is at first level you can interpose Divine Light between yourself and an attacking enemy. So now you can interpose Divine Light on other creatures from attacking enemies, which should be cool. When you are attacked by a creature within 30 feet, you can use your action to impose disadvantage on the attack roll, causing light to flare before dagger. That's actually really sick. You could be like, I impose, as a reaction, impose disadvantage 30 feet from me, blah, blah, blah. Improved Warding Flare lets you grant temp HP to the target of the triggering attack, and it lets you regain your expended uses of Warding Flare when you finish a short rest. That's awesome. Finally, Corona of Light imposes disadvantage against Radiance of the Dawn, as well as spells dealing fire/radiant damage. Let me go read that real quick. Oh yeah, and Radiance of Dawn is your damage thing, and then you now can be like Corona of Light when you activate at 17th level, if you ever get there. That imposes all these disadvantages on it. That's awesome. That's great. Good buffs for Light Domain. Light Domain was already really good. Hell, Light Domain gets fucking Fireball. It's good. It'll be fine. It's a fine, goofy little cleric. Trickery Domain. These mischievous clerics now gain Blessing of the Trickster and invoke Duplicity. Okay, so now we're getting into the goofy stuff. Blessing of the Trickster can now be used on yourself, and it lasts until you finish a long rest. That's actually pretty good. You get to touch a willing creature, so now you can be like, Bop. This is other than yourself to gain advantage on dexterity stealth checks. Now you can be like, Bop. No, I have advantage on dexterity stealth checks, which is what they probably want. And it lasts until you finish a long rest. It's just a whole day. You're like, let's go. And it might be longer than a whole day, depending on how exhaustion you get, that you'll always have advantage on that check. That's good. Invoke Duplicity now takes a bonus action instead of an action. Perfect. That's the buff they would want. No longer requires concentration. Okay, now it's really good and no longer a buff. That's really good. For domain spells, Invisibility replaces Mirror Image. Okay, so at 3rd level you get Invisibility. Hypnotic Pattern and Non-Detection replace Blink and Dispel Magic, and Confusion replaces Polymorph. Perfect. These just fit the theme better. Hypnotic Pattern, if you don't know, really good. Mirror Image, good for the class. Non-Detection is a spell that I think is a good pick because it feels so good for, you can just like hide something, and it works for like the trickery style. So really good little movements around, just kind of picking stuff up, changing them, being like, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this, we want this. I think it works. You want to fit the theme better. War Domain is up, our favorite weirdo. You can now make an unarmed strike with a bonus action conferred by the War Priest feature, and you regain all use of War Priest after either a short or long rest. Okay, so the War Priest feature that you had before, now just like, unarmed strike with a bonus action conferred. So 1 second. Oh, before I think they were saying you can only use making a weapon attack. I bet was what it was. Let me go look. When you first open this situation, when you use an attack, you can make one weapon. Okay, so they're like, hey, you can do an attack or an unarmed attack to let you have that versatility of playing with it. You regain all use of after either a short or long rest. Perfect. I would maybe even buff it up even more, but that's fine. Whatever. It'd probably be stronger at the level. Also, Guiding Bolt, Fire, Shield, and Steel Wind Strike. Replace Divine Favor, Stone Skin, and Flame Strike. Perfect. They're going to go up there. They want to fight and hit things. Guiding Bolt, Fire, Shield, Steel Wind Strike. All makes sense. Steel Wind Strike will be actually very fun to add to, I think, a War Domain Cleric, respectively, as War Domain spells. Finally, this level 6 feature, War God's Blessing, is to change from a bonus to an attack roll and now allows you to cast Shield of Faith or a spiritual weapon without a spell slot and without requiring concentration up to 1 minute. Good. I think that's a good change. War God's Blessing before is at 6th level. When a creature within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, you can use your reaction to grant that creature plus 10 to the bonus of roll using your Channel Divinity. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before the DM's over, the attack hits or miss, which is like a classic. You gotta interject really quickly for that one. From a bonus, change from a bonus to an attack roll, and now allows you from a bonus to an attack roll, and now. Okay, so is it saying it does both or just one? Or just this now? Oh, okay, and now allows you to cast Shield of Faith without a spell slot and without requiring action. Does that still as a reaction? As a reaction, I can cast Spiritual Weapon. As a reaction, I cast Shield of Faith. If that's true, that'd be pretty fucking powerful. So I hope it keeps like either that or a bonus action or something that lets you, boom, bust out a big spell early on. That could be fun. I could see War Domain getting big. And remember, Divine Strike, that big thing we've been seeing, has now been moved out into Blessed Strike, so it'll still help out. Taking the Spear of the 2014 Destroy Undead ability and reimagining it in a way that gives it more utility in battle, Seer Undead is a big upgrade for your 2024 Cleric. With Seer Undead, whenever you use your Channel Divinity to turn Undead, you can roll a number of d8s equal to your Wisdom modifier. Each Undead, regardless of CR level that failed their save against you, against your turn Undead, suffers radiant damage equal to your roll, and the turn Undead effect also remains in place. This exciting change really ups the effectiveness of all of this Channel Divinity for all 2024 Clerics. The CR threshold in previous versions often meant that Destroy Undead had very limited use. It was rare that a party of level 5 were still facing off against CR half creatures, so it's always kind of an all or nothing effect. With CR Undead, you can potentially deal damage to every Undead within 30 feet of you. With or even a +2 or +3 Wisdom modifier, you can still have a chance of destroying Undead. But if not, they'll still take a hefty amount of damage. I think that's a good change. Again, trying to make turn Undead still good while it's still kind of this super goofy garbage thing. But now you're like, all right, well, at least if there's Undead and you're hurt and they're tough, they're not just a bunch of fucking, you're not throwing like 300 zombies at them, then Seer Undead will be good. And I think that's fine. I don't even know if zombies would be correct for CR 1/2. I don't even think zombies are CR half. Maybe they are. I think they might be 1. Blessed Strikes. A variation of the Blessed Strikes was introduced as an optional level 8 rule in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and has now become a standard feature of the class in the 2024 Player Handbook at level 7. When you first level up to level 7, you choose one of the following 2 options. Divine Strike. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack roll, you can add an extra 1d8 of your choice of radiant and necrotic damage. Or Potent Spellcasting, add your Wisdom modifier to the damage dealt with any Cleric cantrip. Okay, so you're really trying to split off, are you the Cleric that hits, or are you the Cleric that doesn't hit? Now, I will say this, I guess for Trickery and War, you'd want to be the Cleric that hits. Light and Life, you'd be the Cleric that does the Wisdom modifier. So, not like it's the choices are that exciting. But I could see it being exciting either way, so it's cool. Neither of these choices is wholly new to the Cleric class, but previously these were tied to your domains. Some subclasses had empowered strikes, others had a boost their spell casting, move them to the base class, letting players choose which option gets up your customizability. Customizability. That's the word we're looking for. Of the Cleric by choosing the mechanic that best fits your playstyle, regardless of the flavor of your domain. Because the 2024 Player Handbook is designed to work with previously published D&D 5th edition sourcebooks, if you're using a subclass found in an older book that has either feature as an ability, you only select one option for your 2024 Cleric. Haha, so if like, yeah, you're back compatibiling it, this shit becomes 1, bitch. That's fine. Mostly the subclasses were, branched out and then they narrowed you in on your own. So I think either way, like we said, you're going to probably pick one anyways, so it's cool they have it out here in case you want to be really unless you want to be the guy who really fucks around and finds out with multi-classing, but we'll see. Now, back to the cool shit. Divine Intervention. Do you think they change really anything about it? I'm kind of scrolling back to mine. Divine Intervention is funny, and that's why we keep it around. Few features indeed live at the perfect intersection of flavorfully cool but functionally frustrating as the 2014 Divine Intervention, because it required the use of percentile die. The odds of it actually working were usually fairly slim, and when it did, the feature was written in a way that was a bit too vague. This led to a lot of discussion of how it would work in the moment. The feature often boiled down to the effect of a cleric spell, so the difficulty of using it and the 7-day delay in even attempting it again added up to a pretty steep barrier of entry for an ultimately middling impact. The 2024 Divine Intervention takes a big step up in clarity and functionality. The feature now allows a player to choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast, and you can cast it without spending a spell slot or material component. The 7-day delay in using it is again gone now as well, meaning you can invoke Divine Intervention again after completing a long rest. The change to Divine Intervention really emphasized the 2024's cleric's role as a conduit to their chosen god, giving them ostensibly a once-per-day ability to pack a powerful punch or pull a spell out like Revivify in a clutch moment. Plays into the spirit of the feature while also providing a mechanic that feels like it can be actively used. Oh, no. I get it. It's like, we're just going to make this good. But when Divine Intervention hits and you rolled for it, bro, it felt so much better, right? Like, that thing was cool. That was like, that's them. This is them getting rid of Turn Undead. That's the thing here. This is what I was talking about when they're like, oh, when you did the Ranger something out of it, this is getting rid of it. You're removing this thing from the class that was intrinsic. Turn Undead, I think people look at as intrinsic. My brain still thinks Divine Intervention was the intrinsic thing in the class, this unique little thing. Making it just like a thing that happens, I think it's fine. I'm not going to get wrong with it. I think this is probably a better upgrade for the class. I would just put or do this, and then you can't use Divine Intervention for 7 days. I would just put an or in there and just let you do the old school way, because I think it's funny. It is interesting. It leads to moments where as a DM, you're like, holy fuck, is this going to work? And that's fun. Let me go get a little sip of my water. Kind of sad that it's gone, but I think this makes sense for a mechanically more powerful character. Yeah. Interesting. Improved Blessed Strikes. The Blessed feature strike at level 7 lets you customize your cleric emphasis on cantrip casting or open attacks in their main form of combat. At level 14, you set a boost to that option you previously choose. If you chose Divine Strike, you get 2d8. If you did Potent Spell Casting, whenever you deal damage with a cantrip, you gain temp HP equal to twice your wisdom modifier to yourself or look within 60 feet. Okay, just a little bit better stuff. Epic Boon. Increase one of your ability scores up to 1 to 30. When you or another creature within 60 feet of you succeeds or fails on a d20 test, you could roll a 2d4 and add or subtract the result from the d20 roll. Once you use this feat, you can't use it until you complete a short rest, a long rest, or roll for initiative. Oh, that feels really weak. Of a fate. I mean, I guess it's not bad. It's just once though. I guess it'd be good in combat. I don't know. That one feels pretty weak. Greater Divine Intervention. The level 20 version of Divine Intervention for the 2024 Cleric truly learns the idea of your Cleric being your god's most special princess. Now your Cleric can use their Divine Intervention to cast the Wish spell. The features of Wish spell are largely similar to the 2024 Player Handbook, so the complications that can result from using it and the toll it takes on the caster's body and health really fit the mold of the impact on a mortal Cleric who is fully opening themselves up to the full might of their god's power. After using Divine Intervention to Wish, you'll have to wait 2d4 long rest before using the feature again. Okay. Pray for the Cleric's enemies. Okay, so I think that's fine, giving them Wish. Wish will be really funny. Giving them Wish is funny. It is sad to see like old school Divine Intervention go the way of the dodo. I'm hoping some stuff remains. Like, I wonder, I didn't say it, so I assume Visions of the Past still exist, right? Because I think that was cool. And so I'd hope they keep that stuff. So I didn't hear them say anything. Oh, and that's Knowledge Domain. I'm so sorry. It's Knowledge Domain. Knowledge Domain is gone. It is dead. Yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it? That's kind of all their stuff. So, I'm sorry, I was thinking. I always think Visions of the Past for Knowledge Domain is like one of the coolest little things because you get to pull up knowledge from everything. And I was like, I just like that. And it's gone. Okay, so lots of little buffs, lots of little increases. Let's go hear what they have to say
everyone.
about it.
Today we are talking about clerics. You know, those folks that keep you alive, playing new things in all the classes and subclasses. That is also true for clerics.
One of the things that we wanted to make sure we did with the cleric, which is also a very popular class, is, as we've done with all of the classes, protect their core identity.
I want to hear divine intervention.
Much of use for them, but no longer has them scrambling from here to the next town. We found that not only in the Unearthed Arcana process, but also in our own playtests, that this new version of Turn Undead is a lot of fun.
And this is like a debuff or damage or?
So what it does now, a new feature called Seer Undead. Found is the problem with that is it was this very kind of all or nothing thing. And then that also meant that you gain no benefit against creatures that were not within that very specific challenge. Often, particularly if you have lucky damage rolls for the radiant damage, still incinerate the undead that you're turning in the cleric. We also have a new feature called Blessed Strikes. And Blessed Strikes is the size of a particular subclass. And we found that doing it the old way kind of pigeonholed certain subclasses in ways that wasn't always how the players wanted to play that subclass. That if you happen to take the new version of the cleric, but wed it to a subclass from an older book, you do not get both the new level 10. We have a new version of Divine Intervention. Now, previously, Divine Intervention was a style of game design that I sometimes refer to as Mother May I game design, where the player basically had to ask the DM's permission for something to happen. And also, this was locked behind a die roll that would determine whether or not your feature even did anything. So our goal with the new Divine Intervention is we wanted to give the cleric certainty that their class feature would actually do something. And so in the new design, you just simply use it, and you choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast, and you cast it. It's that simple. And then you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So what this means is once you reach level 10, you as a cleric, regardless of what cleric spells you have prepared, have in your back pocket the ability to pick any cleric spell of 5th level or lower and decide, I'm casting that now. So it still serves the function that Divine Intervention had before, which is sort of fishing for a divine get-out-of-jail-free card. And I think the feedback we got on this was very positive. And what's also really nice about it is when you cast the spell, you don't expend a spell slot, and you do not need material components. This means, yes, you could choose Raise Dead, which is a 5th level spell, and cast it, calling on Divine Intervention to raise some run from death. And we designed this very specifically to make that happen, because what else feels like Divine Intervention than bringing back somebody from the dead?
You are going to ruin the diamond economy in D&D. All these NPCs that sell diamonds are just...
in all of their shops outside all the temples in D&D cities.
Exactly 500 gold piece worth of diamonds. That's right.
That's right. Now, at level 14, we improved Blessed Strikes, and so...
So I understand what they're saying. I know. I understand like all the ranges. I think it probably is actually better overall. I want to hear the talk about War Domain, because War Domain is probably the most goof of the classes. So let's hear the talks. But yeah, it's fine.
You can now, from the start, use this to benefit other people. It used to be that you could only use it on yourself when you first got it. And this is for people who don't remember, this is the Channel Divinity where you can just give yourself a gigantic +10 to hit. And people have seen Omen Drawn do this many times in Acquisitions Incorporated. But you had to wait till a much higher level to be able to use it on other people. Now you can use it on yourself or other people right away.
Oh, wow, okay.
And we did this similar to some of the changes we made in the Trickery domain. We did this so that this would be more cleric-y right from the start. The whole cleric class is about interactions with other party members, because even if you're a cleric who isn't focusing on healing, clerics still have a number of abilities that otherwise buff their friends, and so we're always looking for ways to make sure that even when clerics might be leaning more in a sort of damage-dealing direction, that there still is an interaction element when it comes to their buddies. Now, the advantage of doing this also means we free up a class feature slot where we can then put in something new, so that you're not having an entire feature eaten up by, now you can use this on your friends. So there's a double advantage to us making a change like this. We also, in the War Priest ability, which you get at 3rd level, along with Guided Strike and your domain spells, we have made it so that you can now make an unarmed strike with the bonus action attack, not just a weapon strike.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking, Okay.
We've done in a number of places in the new Player's Handbook, where previous abilities that only worked with weapons now also work with unarmed strikes. We're doing this not only for the sake of multi-classing, but also because we know that people, regardless of what class they have, sometimes like the fantasy of playing an unarmed character, and so we wanted to support that.
Also supports the grappling and all that kind of stuff you can do later on.
Also made it so that you regain the uses of your War Priest ability when you complete a short or a long rest. So you're also going to be able to use this more often. At level 6 with the War God's Blessing, we reuse the old name, but in terms of functionality, it is brand new, because now we've made it so that you can burn Channel Divinity uses to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon. We decided we wanted to make the War Domain Cleric the type of cleric who has the easiest time casting two of the most iconic, low-level, war-themed cleric spells, Shield of Faith and Spiritual Weapon. One defensive and the other one offensive. And so that means that the War Domain cleric, more than any other cleric, will be able to shield their allies or bring out that spectral weapon to bash foes easier than any other kind of cleric.
There's a nasty spell list, too. Steel, Wind, Strike isn't here.
Oh, yeah. The spell list has been revised in ways that are really exciting. So the Steel, Wind, Strike is a great example of how all the domain lists and other subclass spell lists have benefited from the expanded spell chapter. The Steel Wind Strike wasn't in the 2014 Player's Handbook, but when we made the decision to have this really spicy ranger spell appear in this book, we thought, oh, this is perfect for the War Domain Cleric as well. Before we move on to their capstone, I should also mention that if the War Cleric uses their Channel Divinity to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon, it doesn't require concentration.
Oh, nice.
And if you cast it again, using your channel divinity rather than a spell slot. So extra spicy.
Yeah, yeah.
Finally, Avatar of Battle even has been tweaked in that before you got resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, but only those damage types when dealt by non-magical weapons. We've removed that non-magical weapon part so that now you just simply gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage.
You just are
Meaning
good.
that this new version of the War Cleric, more than ever before, will be able to be this priest character who is throwing down in the middle of battle.
When you
Do you seem like good changes. The big thing I'm excited for is I don't know what their Dungeon Master guy looks like. I'm gonna be honest. I need to look at that later. Okay. Sorcerer versus 2014 Sorcerer. So this is the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer is the probably most, I think, iconic class from 5e in my head. Every single year, every single time I play this game, someone fucking picks Sorcerer. I think it's the first time I have it. My group doesn't do it, but I see Sorcerer picked all the time. Sorcerer is like the much loved class along with Warlock. I think Wizard has like sort of fallen out of the popularity train compared to these two, as like, because who doesn't want to cast spells and be the face of the party? Always the question. So I'm excited to see what they do with Sorcerer. Sorcerer had like a lot of interesting stuff, but a lot of like, I think, confusing features that people just got confused by or didn't read correctly. So I'm excited to see what they do with them and what they want to change. The Sorcerer in the 2024 Player's Handbook is a master spell caster manipulating magic on a whim brimming with new arcane power. The class now benefits from additional spells, features that allow you to unleash your inner magic, and a revamped capstone. And you didn't even have to memorize incantations or dedication your soul to a higher power to get it. Let's take a look at the key changes. If we don't cover features such as Font of Magic, that means it remains unchanged. Font of Magic continues to be normal. Cool. Let's go take a look. Spellcasting level 1. The Sorcerer spellcasting feature grants you more spells and flexibility, and has now seen some slight tweaks to nomenclature. The first everybody prepares spells now, but this change is a stylistic one for the Sorcerer. You can still edit your spell list when you level up, and you can only change one spell on your list at a time. The most significant change to spellcasting for Sorcerer in 2024 Player's Handbook is that they can prepare more spells than their 2014 counterpart could learn. In fact, once you reach level 3, Sorcerers now prepare just as many spells as Druid, Bard, Cleric, and Wizard. The Wizard, as Mistress' favorite, pulls ahead of the pack at level 14. Lastly, Sorcerer can now change one cantrip when you level up. This is addition to small big spells from your prayer list. Okay, cool. Yeah, just give them more access to more spells, more shit they can hold, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I think limiting spell casting was always like a rough thing. I think Sorcerer just didn't really fall into the Warlock camp of like, because they had that many slots, they didn't have to have that many spells. Sorcerers did have a lot of shit. They should have a lot of spells. So I think it's fine. And they're like, they're like other wizards, so it's like it's fine. Innate sorcery. Magic is your blood, and some of your enemies may have learned that the hard way. With innate sorcery, you can use your bonus action surge and magical power for 1 minute. During that time, your spell save DC for sorcerer spells increases by 1, and you have advantage on attack rolls for sorcery spells. You can use this feature twice per long rest. So you have a minute long DC spells increased by 1 and advantage on attack rolls for sorcerer spells. That's pretty fucking good, right? That just seems good. I guess they're turning the sorcerer into the fuck you up, kill you spell class. Okay. For sorcerer spell. Oh, yeah, seems good. Meta Magic, the sorcerer's trademark feature, has seen some upgrades. You can now get this feature at level 2 instead of 3, and you learn 2 additional meta magic options at level 10 and 17 instead of 1. You can also change 1 meta magic option when you level up. Additionally, the 2 optional meta magic options introduced to touch on anything have been incorporated in the core class. Perfect. 6 of the 10 meta magic options were tweaked. If you don't see a meta magic option list below, it remains unchanged from the 2014 Player's Handbook. Totally fine. Careful spell now protects your allies from taking half damage on a successful save. Next time your barbarian is surrounded, throw a fireball at their feet without fear of harming your friend. Now protects your allies from taking half damage on a successful save. Okay, cool. Extended spell, you now also have advantage on saving throws made to maintain concentration on spells affected by this meta magic. Good change. If we'll look at the careful spell before, whenever you cast a spell that force other creatures to make a saving throw, you can protect some of the other creatures from the spell's full force. So you spend your sorcery point, choose a number of other creatures up to your charisma modifier. A chosen creature automatically succeed on its saving throw against the spell. So I think the answer was that you still take damage. Now it's taking protection items from taking half damage, which just boom saves them. They don't get hurt. A little strong, but in a good way. I think it's probably okay. Heightened spell costs 2 sorcery points instead of 3. Now also affects all subsequent saves a target makes against the heightened spell. Hello, my old friend, hold person slow. Good. Now you can just fucking make it better. That's good. This is whenever you cast into resistant, they get disadvantage on the first saving throw. Now they're just saying, all saving throws, which is good. Seeking spell costs 1 sorcery point instead of 2. You can still use the metamagic option even if you are using another one of the same. You use another one on that same spell. Cool, that's good. Subtle spell now allows get out of here, fly. Subtle spell now allows you to ignore material components as long as those material components don't have a cost specification or are not consuming the spell. Perfect. This is just the classic no material, no need to even give somatic or verbal component, so it is just like you just whispered out in the air. Not even whisper. And then Twin Spell. The meta option has been reconfigured. Now, Twin Spells applies to spells that can be upcast to target additional creatures, such as Banishment, increasing the spell's effect level by 1. It also only costs 1 sorcery point. So, example, if you're level 7, you can't cast Banishment at 5th level slot necessary to target another creature, but you can cast it at 4th level and spend 1 sorcery point to twin it. Cool. I think that works really well. I think all that makes sense. I'm glad they didn't change Quicken Spell. Thank God. I didn't want them to upgrade that at all times. Other than that, yeah, I think that makes sense. Those all seem fine. Sorcerer subclasses. So they took some interesting ones. I expected Wild Magic. Obviously, they put a big whole thing about it. Wild Magic is cool. Draconic Sorcery, I think, is Fear. I think people always really lean towards this one in my time of play. And then Aberrant Mind and Clockwork are... I think Aberrant Mind is, of course, one they wanted people to take for. I think Psionic stuff is something they've been really trying to push a little bit on more and more. Clockwork I didn't expect, but that's awesome. I think Clockwork is cool. I think having those interesting spell types are cool. Sorcerers now get their subclass level 3. Like always, Aberrant Mind and Clockwork Sorcerer were largely untrained from Tasha's Cauldron and everything. Wild Magic was only slightly altered, and Draconic Sorcery was given a new breath of life. Ha ha ha. Alright, Aberrant Minds and Clockwork are about the same, but I'll read them. Aberrant Minds saw some minor changes. Sonic spells can no longer be replaced with divination or enchantment spells from the Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard spell list. Sonic sorceries no longer affect material components that have a specified cost. Sounds good. Clockwork. Clockwork Sorcery underwent only 2 changes from Tasha's Cauldron and everything. Clockwork spells can no longer be replaced with Abjuration or Transmutation spells from the Sorcerer. Okay. And Restore Balance is now tied to your Charisma modifier instead of your Proficiency bonus. Cool. Those are the changes they've been making across the board. I'm going to look at what they were before. Because that's their, like, simplifying everything up for you. And because they want you to turn down the ability to use them. Probably the Tasha stuff was just a little too strong. Draconic Sorcery. This iconic sorcerer subclass has significantly improved, granting you spells and stronger, more dragon-like features. You gain 10 additional spells as you level up, including Command, Fear, Charm Monster, and Legend Lore. Fuck yeah, bring back Legend Lore. Make me happy for Legend Lore. Draconic Resilience new AC calculation includes your Charisma modifier, 10 plus Dex plus Charisma. That's really good. And the new Capstone feature, Dragon Companion, allows you to cast the new Summon Dragon spell once per day without using a spell slot, material components, or concentration. Well, that's really freaking good and probably pretty cool. So, really puts all the stuff in line for Draconic Sorcery. That sounds awesome. Wild Magic Sorcery. Wild Magic surges now trigger on a 20 instead of a 1. Good. I don't know why they did it the other way around. And the Wild Magic Surge table has been reorganized, but its effects are all familiar. The Wild Magic Surge table itself has undergone quite the makeover, organizing similar effects into their own mini rollable tables. Don't worry, you can still be transformed into a potted plant. Casting a spell after using Tides of Chaos now automatically triggers a Wild Magic Surge. Ben Luck costs 1 sorcery point instead of 2. The subclass's new Capstone feature, Tame Surges, allows you to trigger a Wild Magic Surge of your choice once per day. Okay, cool. We'll go into that with the first look at the 2024 Wild Magic. They kind of get into it here because I think they made a lot more choices here for it, and we'll get into that in a sec. And now we're back to where we were before. So subclasses all seem fine. I bet The one thing I'm happy that they have more than 2 than the original. That was the original Sorcerer one, which was so weird to me that they only had 2 when everyone else had. I felt like more. On 2 was like for martial classes, 2 to 3, and that felt more understandable because martial classes were just they're just not as unique. No offense, sorry, martial classes. Where magic gets a lot of shit to do. It's been the problem with magic is far more interesting than martial classes. Is why I'm happy they're keeping everyone at 4 to make everyone feel as unique as they possibly can be. But Sorcerer felt the most ununique of the beginning classes because it was like wild or draconic. What do you want? And it didn't feel like it cracked into everything that was possible. And now I think them adding this stuff is really good. Sorcerer's Restoration. I'm just gonna go pull back to right after Meta Magic. This is at 20th level. That's what this says. Sorcerer's Restoration was at before. 20th level. I just want to point that out really quickly there. Once per day, you can regain expended sorcery points equal to half your sorcery level. Write it down, so that gets good. On a short rest, now when the party warlock asks for a short rest, you'll get a little something out of it too. That's good for sorcerer. Consider when to use this feature and how to strategically manage your sorcery points. For example, let's say you're level 10 and you have 8 sorcery points remaining. If your party's taking a short rest before confronting a boss, you can regain up to 5 using Sorcerer's Restoration. Before taking that short rest and using this feature, consider using Font of Magic to convert 3 sorcery points into a level 2 spell slot. This way you'll still be able to face the boss with all 10 of your sorcery points and you'll have an extra level 2 slot. Perfect. Think through your shit, obviously. Good. I think this is good to move this up here and lets players do that. I was talking about this Goodberry thing where druids earlier on of like, oh, it's before you go to bed, cast Goodberry, and then you have the 24 hours of the 10 good berries, and you cast Goodberry, like 3 times, and you go to bed, and you wake up with 30 good berries, and you can just pop these in people's mouth on your short rest, like, oh, I need 5 HP, well, here's some good berries for your 24 hours I have them. It's not like you lost anything using it. These are, I think, fine things to do. I think they let players express themselves or be kind of tricky in their own way. And I think just kind of letting players do that makes them feel smart for doing math or looking at numbers and being like, oh, I can do that. And then boom, there you go. I like that 20th level was regain 4 expended sorcery points whenever you finish a short rest. You can get a lot more than that at level 10. So that's incredible. I think Sorcerer's Restoration was kind of poo-poo. So now it's good. Sorcery Incarnate. Innate sorcery wasn't even your final form. With Sorcery Incarnate, you regain a use of your innate sorcery by spending 2 sorc points. In addition, innate sorcery now allows you to use up to 2 meta magic options on each spell. Shit. Fighting 2 powerful foes, cast a twinned and heightened hold monster, set your paladin and rogues up for critical hits. Sticking to long range, reach for a quickened and distant blindness and deafness on an enemy 60 feet from you and followed up with a firebolt. You know, these are good. These are good. These are really strong. I'm glad they just give you a little bit of oomph at the beginning and then let your subclass take you the rest of the way. A little more that strength at the beginning. With when you get your subclass, like level 3, you get your subclass, and you're 5 and 7, you get these like bigger boosts to yourself, and it's like sort of like, okay, pull the brakes back, let the subclass take them the whole way, and then they kind of get their stuff at the end. Their boon of dimensional travel increases booster up to 1. Immediately after you take an attack or magic action, you can teleport for 30 feet. Okay, it's fine. You can do it whenever, every turn. Yeah, it's pretty good. Your innate sorcery feature is taken to new heights with arcane apotheosis. When innate sorcery is active, you can use 1 meta magic option per turn without expending sorcery points. If you're using multiple meta magics on a turn, be sure to make the most expensive one free. In the 2024 Boys Handbook, Quicken Spell and Heightened Spell cost 2 sorcery points each, while the rest of the meta magics only cost 1. So Quicken Spell and Heightened Spell cost 2, and they're your best ones. So that's pretty awesome that you can always just have 1 for free. This feature also grants you more flexibility. For example, if you're headed into an important battle low on spell slots, you might normally hesitate to spend sorcery points to create new slots because you want to use a meta magic during the upcoming fight, but if you know that Arcane Apotheosis will allow you to use some mana magic for free, you have more freedom to use your sorc points to enable cast spells. Perfect. Awesome. Glad to see the Sorcerer is doing good. I have like no complaints with the Sorcerer so far. I think Sorcerer sounds great. And we'll take a look at them talking about the Sorcerer more later on. So I'm gonna go. I just closed that really quickly. My brain was like, it's good. I don't know. It's really strong. It's some good features. I think the Sorcerer was always like in a weird place from when I had people play with it to never felt like they understood what they were exactly for, but they had these good role playing thing because the customizability of the character background, everything was great. And now having, I think, just more options for them to go through is like, man, I don't know the last time I would see people take Wild Magic Sorcerer because they just thought that was cool, right? Like, who didn't like being like, oh, I can like maybe have some fucking crazy thing pop off. That'd be so cool. But after that, I mean, it was constant like, I want to use like Divine Soul. I want to use Shadow Magic. I want to use Storm Sorcery. I want to and it was like that was always what it was. I never had people ever come back to Draconic Bloodline after like one use. So having them be like, we are going to make this way better is a really good choice, and I hope it actually works out in their favor in the end. But now they're going to talk about the Wild Magic for some reason. So I'll have to talk more about the Draconic one. It seemed like that was the bigger change. The Sorcerer class embraces the odder side of magic, the twist and... Oh, let's read this. The top part. Wild Magic Sorcery taps in the chaotic nature of the arcane, trading the risk of unpredictable surges of magic with the power to twist fate in your favor. In the 2024 Player's Handbook, the Wild Magic Sorcerer features have become more affordable and easier to use, and Wild Magic Surge themselves can be more easily triggered. There's also a brand new capstone feature, Tame Surge, that grants limited but powerful control over these bursts of power. There's pure, undiluted joy that can only come from causing a little chaos. Just ask your cat after knocking something off your table. Below, we explore the unexpected as we divulge what's new for Wild Magic Sorcerer. Is this just like a scroll down? Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure. Oh my god. Chaos Power. The Sorcerer class embraces the odder side of magic, the twists and turns. If you want to lean into this further and add a little who knows where it came from and who knows what it will do to your sorcery, then Wild Magic is calling. The Wild Magic Sorcerer is well studied to players who enjoy unpredictability and randomness. There's something tantalizing about knowing you have the perfect spell for a situation, but not knowing whether casting it will cause you to levitate. I have played in social scenes where I thought I was extremely clever by subtle casting an enchantment spell only to sprout a beard of feathers. Though they may manifest at inopportune times, these surges can often be helpful, allowing you to teleport, regain hit points, or cast offensive spells like Mirror Image on yourself. Yeah, that's the fun about Chaos. It leads to role-playing because its downsides are truly upsides for the DM. While Wild Magic can be utilized to twist fate in your favor, the feature like Tides of Chaos, Bin Luck, and the new Tame Surge in the 2024 Player's Handbook, Bin Luck is easier to use, Tides of Chaos more rewarding, and Tame Surge ensures you can experience your favorite parts of the updated Wild Magic table. So Wild Origins. The Wild Magic Sorcerer's chaotic, unpredictable spellcast can be with the raw and uncontrollable power of the cosmos. While the wizards studied, the warlocks negotiated their pacts, and the bards spun performance into magic, what were you doing? Wild magic can come from anywhere. Did you drink from a phase dream? Did you visit limbo in your dreams and wake up with chaos in your blood? So what kind of wild magic sorcerer are you, and what one's changed your fate? That's the best part about sorcerer. Sorcerer just kind of fucking does appear as a fucking sorcerer. They're like, oh, holy shit, I'm fucking magic man, and they don't know why. And then I guess at level 3 now they're gonna have like a bit more of like a role play, like it pops out. Ugh. Before playing at level 1, 2, work with the DM to determine if sorcerer knows where their magic comes from. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, work with your DM. Always, for the love of God, work with your DM. Don't try to scare your DM away. The subclass's trademark Wild Surge feature is nearly identical to the 2014 Player's Handbook. However, there are two notable tweaks. In the 2014 Player's Handbook, the DM decides whether you rolled the 1d20 to see if you triggered a surge of wild magic. In the 2024 Player's Handbook, you, the player, can roll the 1d20. This is something everyone let the players do anyways. Now, when rolling the 1d20 to determine whether you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, a 20 triggers a surge, formally triggered by 1. This doesn't change your odds of rolling on the table, but does reframe the table's relationship with the wild magic. Yeah, 1 made it look negative, 20 made it look positive. I think everybody picked 20 anyway, just because it was like, it was the crit, you got the Wild Magic Surge, yippee kind of moment. So, I just don't know why the 5e developers didn't recognize this. I wonder what they saw Wild Surge when it originally came out. The new Wild Magic Surge table has been streamlined, making it easier to navigate without sacrificing variety. At first glance, the new table looks like it's shed half its size. However, upon closer glance, you'll see that many surges from the old table have been condensed into fewer entries on the newer table, which triggers a die roll to determine a more specific effect. The new table takes up less space on the page, but contains practically the same number of possible side effects as the old table, 49 versus 50. Why do this? Well, under the prior table, there was an 18% chance the wild magic would cause you to cast a spell, a 6% chance that creatures were summoned in your immediate vicinity, and a 12% chance of a harmless but obvious effect like blue skin or illusory butterflies that follow you around. The new table with individual cast spell or goofy visible effect entries is balanced so that each unique flavor of Wild Magic Surge has an equal chance of occurring. Okay, I think it's fine. I don't know if that's actually fine. Let me think. Brayden's actually not thinking this one. For gameplay, it's fine. For role playing, it's a little weird. I think it's funny to have more goofy effects or cast more goof spells, but if those are all balanced around each other correctly, it should be okay. Tides of Chaos allows you to grant yourself advantage on one d20 test of your choice. This feature is now less dependent on your DM's memory and discretion. In the 2024 Player's Handbook, casting a spell after spending Tides of Chaos automatically triggers a Wild Magic Surge and recharges your use of ability. Okay, so that's way better than the original. If you don't remember original Tides of Chaos, it was that, you commit the force of chance and chaos to gain advantage on one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Once you do so, you must finish a long rest before you can use this feature test again. Anytime before you regain the use of this feature, the DM can have you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table immediately after you cast Sorcerer spell of first level or higher. So it's like, hey, if you do this, I have to hold this in my pocket and be like, oh, you're casting a spell? Now use Wild Magic, which is just it's too much on the DM who's already trying to go through so much. Now it's just like, fuck it, it just goes. So it's just like, hey, you did wild search. Just remember, the next spell, you gotta do that. Not the DM. Previously, the DM could decide whether casting a spell triggered the search. However, run games for playing as one. However, after having run games for and played as one searcher, I personally am grateful for this switch. The previous structure took a fact that the player is most likely to remember. Did the sorcerer use Tides of Chaos recently? And made the DM's responsibility to remember every time the sorcerer casts spell. The DM has enough going on. This new ranger is much easier to run. Yes, the DM has too much going on. I agree. Thank you, D&D, for recognizing my problem. These damn sorcerers. Binluck. Whenever anybody you can see rolls a d20 for a d20 test, you can use your reaction to spend one sorc point to roll 1d4 and add or subtract it to the roll. Previously, this ability cost 2 sorcery points. Use your innate powers to simulate chance fail. Okay, cool. Yeah, Binluck seems good. Good change. Blah, blah. Good, cool. Was it anything else? Yeah, I just think they put the d20 test now instead of saying, attack roll, saving throw, whatever. D20 text is I think it's a good shorthand. Controlled Chaos, level 14. Controlled Chaos is unchanged from 2014 Player's Handbook. When you roll Wild Magic Surge, roll twice and pick your preferred result. So which will be turn into a potted plant or polymorph into a goat. Good bit. Tame Surge is an entirely new feature replacing the 2014 Player's Handbook spell Bombardment. With Tame Surge, you can now trigger a Wild Magic Surge effect of your choice once per day. If you choose an effect that requires a die roll, e.g., determine what type of creature is summoned of what your spell you cast, you must roll it as normal. So if you want to free Fireball, you'll be risk casting Grease or Levitate instead. I like this because it preserves some degree of chaos even at higher levels. If you find yourself low on health and surrounded by enemies, trigger a Wild Magic Surge when you cast Shield, and the Surge effect that damages nearby enemies and heals you for the amount of damage they take. If you need to escape an ambush, choose a Surge effect that grants you and 3 allies the invisible condition, or choose the effect that instantly allows you to teleport 60 feet. Yeah, I think this all works fine. Once per day. Okay, just want to make sure it's once per day. So that means on a new day, not a long rest, you get it back. That makes sense. Spell Bombardment was beginning at 18th level. The harmful energies of your spell intensifies when you roll damage for a spell and roll the highest number possible. On any of the dice. Choose one of those dice. You roll it again and add that roll to the damage. You can only use that feature once per turn. It wasn't that exciting, so Tame Surge seems better. Let's go listen to that.
Hello, everyone. Today we are talking about the Sorcerer. We have lots of new things to talk about. We've got a new table. We've got some very big improvements for subclasses. Let's dive in.
The Sorcerer has had a number of exciting transformations. This is the class for the person who was either born with the magic or an event happened and transformed them. This is the closest in some ways we get in D&D to having a class that's almost like a superhero, a person who just has innate powers. We wanted to enhance that theme in a variety of ways, and you can see that right away at first level in the class with a brand new feature called Innate Sorcery. Innate Sorcery allows this sorcerer to spend a bonus action, basically burst with their innate magic, and while this phenomenon goes on, the spell save DC of their sorcerer spells increases by 1, and they have advantage on any attack roll they make as a part of a sorcerer spell. When designing it, we thought of it essentially as the sorcerer's rage. It has a very different role in the class from rage, but it is a similar kind of thing of just suddenly, like, rah, I'm powering up. And we wanted to give people this feature right away, because this feature shows, especially when you put the new warlock next to the new sorcerer, next to the new wizard, it's very clear looking at even just their first level, how distinct each of the 3 arcane spellcasters are from each other.
Yeah.
Now, the spellcasting feature of the sorcerer has also been improved. As we've done in our other dedicated spellcasters who have cantrips, we've made it so that you can change one of your cantrips whenever you level up. And cantrips used to be like a perma-choice. You chose it, and that was that for the rest of your career. When you get to 2nd level, you get Font of Magic and Meta Magic at that same level now. For those of you who are not familiar with the sorcerer, Font of Magic is the feature that gives you your sorcery points.
Yeah.
These are points that you use to unlock various magical effects, and that can include turning some of those points into spell slots. It can include taking spell slots and turning them into sorcery points. But one of the main ways that you use your sorcery points is on Meta Magic. And Meta Magic is a signature feature for sorcerers, just as Eldritch Invocations are a signature for warlocks. Meta Magic options allow the sorcerer to modify spells as the sorcerer casts them. Yeah. And we have revisited every one of the Meta Magic options, fine-tuned them, shared a lot of that retuning with folks through Unearthed Arcana, got feedback, and now we have the final slate here for sorcerers to use, along with a couple of new options that appeared originally in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And so that...
Okay, well, this makes sense. They're just like trying to really differentiate them. I think they are. I think they're actually doing a really good job. Let's go look at... I want to hear more about Draconic Sorcerers. You didn't see that much, so let's hear
The Draconic Sorcerer, which was always a beloved one.
Oh yeah, so the Draconic Sorcerer is in many ways the iconic sorcerer subclass, particularly because dragons have been a part of the backstory of the sorcerer class going back to the class's introduction in 3rd edition. And so it was always important to us that in 5th edition, we retain that draconic element.
I want to say, just pause real here. This art is sick as fuck. That is a fucking sick dragon.
To honor the class.
In a sense that I think it looks sick, and then B, that is some awesome artwork. One of the things that I don't probably just don't talk about a lot because we don't see a ton of it.
So it's always
the
important to
artwork
us
for the
that
new
in 5th edition,
Handbook
we retain
astounding.
that draconic element and to honor the class's origin back in 3rd edition. And so what we've done here is we have really amped up the draconic angle of this subclass. So first off, you're going to see that we have sort of remixed several of the elements so that you still have what you'd expect, like your increased resilience. You still have more hit points than the typical sorcerer. You also have, without wearing any armor, a higher armor class than the typical sorcerer. But now that's joined at 3rd level by a list of spells, which you did not have before.
Yeah, this did not exist before.
No, yeah, this is a brand new feature called Draconic Spells. And here, we were able to give you magic that will assist you in leaning fully into your dragon magic fantasy. And here we were able to really make use of the expanded spell chapter in this book. Here's some examples. We now are able to give you, right at 3rd level, the spell Dragon's Breath. Because Dragon's Breath is one of the spells that has been added to the player's handbook. We also, I'm particularly excited about this, when you reach 9th level as a sorcerer and you have this subclass, you can now summon a dragon, which was not an option for the sorcerer.
At 9th level, is that what they said? That was a capstone. Is capstone just at 9th level?
In 2014, but because the brand new and you have this subclass, you can now summon a... We also, I'm particularly excited about this, when you reach 9th level as a sorcerer and you have this subclass, you can now summon a dragon, which was not an option for the sorcerer in 2014, but because the brand new spell Summon Dragon is in the player's handbook, you can do what it says on the tin and now have a certain number of times per day a dragon buddy who's fighting alongside you. The Summon Dragon spell is a sort of new version of a summoning spell that we had in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, and this one has been retooled to be appropriate for the core game. Now, we couldn't resist, so we kept going in enhancing the subclass. You still have the resistances also that were associated with the subclass, but now they don't cost sorcery points. And so this will allow you to enjoy this
more
benefit
tanky, blah, blah,
without having it be a drain on your sorcery point pool. We've also increased the speed of your dragon wings. Now, you're not going to be able to have them on all the time, but when you do have them on, you're going to be even faster than you were in 2014. Finally, at level 18, you have a brand new feature called Dragon Companion. Now, you already at level 9 started always having the Summon Dragon spell prepared. Well, when you reach level 18, building on that, you can now cast that spell without requiring its costly material component. And you can also cast it without a spell slot once per day. And you also have the option of, when you cast it in this way, of not having to concentrate on it.
Okay, so they're just saying, like, you have this ability earlier on, but it costs you shit.
You
now it's just like it's free.
And be concentrating on another spell when you reach level 18. And so that means now, in addition to embodying draconic...
If I don't see the... Okay, this all sounds good. I just want to hear the draconic stuff. The wild magic stuff we just went through and talked about, I think it all makes sense. We're going to get more into it and just go over, like, what the... What's it called? What the surges could be. I'd rather just see the actual page instead of, like, thinking about hearing them say what it could be. So I don't care much for that. God, I do want to go over the species and background origins. I really, really do. Do I do it today? Do I do it today? I'm gonna refresh real quick while I'm here. Okay. Let's just look. Let's just take a peek in. Okay. Do I wanna? No, I will wait. I will wait. They're going to change them a bunch from what I know. We are going to we're going to wait. And we'll do that. Also, I do want to read. Yeah, no, I can't look. I want to look. Okay, with that, we are done. Cut. Call it a day there. Back to the music. Oh, I just want to look. I just want to know. No, we will wait. I don't need to go. I'm not at the restroom anymore. Bye.